What's good, everybody? It's your boy Strack Reacts, back with another reaction video. Before we get right into the video, I just want to say please like, comment, subscribe, turn all post notifications on. It means a lot to me, and thank you everybody for the support you show. Today we got the only battle fought between American soldiers in World War II, the Battle of Bamber Bridge explained. Now this video right here was highly suggested. You see what I'm saying? I actually seen this comment yesterday. So here we are, we reacting to it the next day. We had to get right to it. I don't want to waste no time. Let's get right into the video, man.
We've done videos on friendly fire in World War II, Imperial Japan's inter-service hostilities, and Allied forces such as the Americans and Soviets going toe-to-toe. But did you know that 2 American units fought and shot each other over in northwest England in June 1943? This is the story of the so-called Battle of Bamber Bridge, a skirmish fueled by beer and no small...
But I really didn't know that. Really?
Until US President Harry S. Truman issued Executive Order 9981 in July 1948, the branches of the United States Armed Forces suffered from varying degrees of racial segregation. The first clause of the order read as follows: "It is hereby declared that there shall be equality of treatment and opportunity for all persons in the armed services without regard to race, color, religion, or national origin."
Right.
Of course, the order didn't erase racism in the military, and it was put into effect some 5 years after the Battle of Bamber Bridge. Throughout World War II, some 2 million American servicemen passed through or were stationed in the UK for a variety of purposes, and they weren't always on the job. They often toured the UK and interacted with its denizens. Many American servicemen married English women and brought them back to America when the war was over. More often than not, African Americans were well received by the British populace, at least at the start. When more racist white Americans poured into the UK, they imposed their aholery upon the British, refusing, for example, to eat at a restaurant that served black people. According to Roy Otterly's article, Dixie Invades Britain, which was published in 1942, American observers who were in the UK in 1942 when the first contingents arrived from America saw amicable and smooth relations develop between the Negro troops and their British hosts. So much so that certain white American soldiers became openly resentful, and they lost no time in attempting to discipline the British people. According to an article by historian Joseph Dickinson, the resentment was due, at least in part, to the frustration of white American soldiers who saw how open British women were to relationships with black Americans and simply couldn't handle it without chucking a massive tantrum. In the words of author Graham Smith, many young girls found the blacks fascinating, appreciating their attentiveness and good manners. The United States...
You know what? I like this channel. I like this dude right here. I really like this dude right here. I'm not gonna lie. Not in that type of manner now. We got the immature people out there watching the video. Man, this for all my adults. You see what I'm saying? We having adult conversations.
Army Air Forces, or USAAF, the precursor to the US Air Force, operated out of more than 200 airfields in the UK, each base housing an average of 2,500 men. Among the American units which flew out of the UK was the 8th Army Air Force, and one of the 8 supporting units was the 1511th Quartermaster Truck Regiment, a racially segregated unit composed of African American soldiers.
No!
These men were housed at Air Force Station 569, or more colloquially, Adam Hall, in the village of Bamber Bridge in Lancashire, England. Their job was to deliver, via trucks, war material to other air bases in the area. When they were off duty, some of the men enjoyed a pint or two at a watering hole called Ye Old Hob Inn, where they were more than amicable with the local English. When the white Americans started cracking down on this, demanding the establishment of a colour bar in the village's 3 pubs put up signs reading "Black Troops Only." Racism, it seemed, would not be tolerated in Bamber Bridge. Unfortunately, the 234th US Military Police Company, which operated on the north side of the village, were especially sore about the attentive, well-mannered African American men winning the hearts of Bamber Bridge's women. The MPs had standing orders to arrest American soldiers who were out without a pass, who weren't dressed properly, or who were acting disorderly. On the 24th of June 1943, just days after the race riot back in Detroit, Michigan, they tried to use their power to give the black soldiers of the 1511th a hard time. The consequences were disastrous. While the specifics might vary between sources, the core of the story remains the same. Possibly because an African American soldier tried to purchase a beer after last orders had been called, MPs Roy A. Windsor and Ralph F. Ridgway entered Ye Olde Hob Inn on the night of the 24th and tried to cite one Private Eugene Nunn for being without a pass and for wearing the wrong uniform. An argument broke out, and the locals, as well as British servicewomen of the Auxiliary Territorial Service, sided with Nunn and the 1511th. An unnamed white British soldier also chimed in, saying, "Why do you want to arrest them? They're not doing anything or bothering anybody." The heat increased, and one private, Lynn M. Adams of the 1511th, brandished a bottle. In retaliation, Windsor drew his gun. It might have gone down then and there had not a black sergeant by the name of William Byrd managed to defuse the situation. The MPs got into their jeep and were on their way out, but Private Adams was mad and probably a little drunk and decided it would be a good idea to throw his bottle at the jeep. The MPs were outnumbered and chose not to retaliate at that moment. Instead, they gathered some reinforcements and ambushed the men of the 1511th as they were walking back to Adam Hall later that night.
Of course they did.
A fight ensued on the road, possibly with the MPs wielding billy clubs. The 1511th fought back with bottles and loose cobblestones. Supposedly to stop Private Adams from hurling a stone at him, MP Carson W. Bosman drew his gun and fired. The bullet struck the private in the neck.
Whoa. Wait a minute. You shot your own kind?
The fight soon subsided, and the men of the 1511th made it back to Adam Hall, mostly in one piece. At some point during the chaos, a rumor spread throughout the village. A black soldier had been shot in the back, and the MPs were out on a manhunt. There seems to be a little confusion about what happened next, but the resounding narrative is that a pissed off crowd of some 200 black men rallied at Adam Hall, standing against their white senior officers and calling for war. It's possible they would have stormed the village en masse, but the 1511th's only black officer, Lieutenant Edwin D. Jones, was able to calm them down, for the time being. It wasn't long after that, however, that about a dozen MPs drove into Adam Hall in several jeeps and an improvised armoured car fitted with a machine gun. This prompted the 1511th to seize about 2/3 of the firearms stored at Adams Hall and either take up defensive positions or drive or run out into the night to meet the MPs head on. The locals were instructed to stay inside, and over the next 3 to 4 hours, a firefight raged throughout the Bamber.
Wait, because they just said, wait, hold on, wait a minute. Let me get right real quick. Let me get my thoughts together. They went to war with their own privates and officers? This is what I'm hearing. They stood against them, you know? They felt like they was being discriminated against, so they wanted to, that was their battle. A lot of people really don't realize that African Americans, the real war for them was the slavery. It was you see what I'm saying? The civilization, getting separated from people, getting treated, judged, spoken to differently. You see, and without precaution, like they wasn't allowed to speak up for themselves at all. So that was their war. That was really their battle they was fighting, mentally and physically, because yet again, they could try to push you physically, you know, of course they always will, try to take it to a next level and bully you. So it's like, I mean, that was the war for them. So they had a purpose to go against them. This right here is crazy though. You should never be fighting your own kind. I'm so confused right now. Why am I just now hearing about this? Man, I'm 21. I'm 21. Why am I just now hearing about this?
The 1511th, one William Crossland, took a bullet and died, while 4 or 5 other soldiers and 2 MPs were injured. It could have been much, much worse, all things considered. Following this mess, 2 trials were conducted. In the first, 4 of the African American men involved in the fight in which Private Adams was shot were found guilty of various offences, dishonourably discharged and sentenced to hard labour. In the second trial, 28 of the 35 defenders were convicted of offences such as ignoring orders, failing to disperse, rioting, mutiny, seizing arms and firing on officers and MPs. They were sentenced to as many as 15 years, but further reviews saw a reduction in these sentences and the release of some of the men. 15 of them returned to duty in June 1940.
So was one of them put in slavery? Because he said that he had to do hard labor. He was put into hard labor. After going to war with your MPs, he was put into hard labor?
Just in time for the Normandy landings. All in all, the longest period served by any of the men was just 13 months. Again, things could have been much worse. The commander of the 8th Army Air Force, General Ira C. Eaker, believed much of the blame fell on the MPs, whose blatant racism inspired the entire affair. The white officers of the 1,511th were also largely to blame, as they did a terrible job of trying to pacify the rioting men at Adam Hall and also refused to tend to the wounded among them. At least one of them was reportedly drunk.
Grimy.
Following the incident, the 1,511th and other trucking units' ranks were purged of racist officers and black officers were integrated into the MP units. Things got slightly better after that. We're interested to know what you think though. Had you heard of the Battle of Bamber Bridge before today?
Nope.
Why do you think it happened?
I just want to give a special shout out to everybody who recommended this video in the comments. I was not aware of this until today. Well, until yesterday. But I'm really aware of it now. And like he said towards the end of the video, why do you think this happened? Again, this happened because they was at war with those MPs. Vice versa. Those MPs were at war with them, with the blacks. They treated them differently. They odded them out and they bullied them. And the blacks retaliated. There's so many situations in historical events where blacks have retaliated eventually. You see what I'm saying? So why would you not expect that to happen? Ain't we supposed to be on the same side? I had a lot of people that really was looking into military. Even now, like now in times. I'm talking about now in times, the 20th century. And they're still like, no. What is there to fight for? They still feel there's really nothing to fight for. You still get treated differently and oddly as a black in certain, states and countries when you still deploy. Nothing really changes. Nothing really changes. Nothing will ever really go away. And it's just crazy. You guys let me know what you thought about this video in the comments down below. Thank you so much for the recommendations. We're on the road to big 1K. I am so happy. You guys been showing nothing but support. Nothing but love and support. You see what I'm saying? I'm showing it right back. Further ado, that was it for today's video. Thank you so much for tuning in. And I will see you guys in the next video.